in Delhi, despite India's desire to focus on the needs of developing nations. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told the gathering that Russia must withdraw its forces. The BBC's Barbara Platasha is in Delhi, was listening to Mr. Blinken's remarks.
His lines have been quite clear in terms of presenting Russia as the problem and trying to rally the U.S. allies and Western countries and others to also condemn the Russian invasion. And that is really what you've seen at this G20 meeting, a hardening of those divisions. We saw it in Bali as well last year, but now here you have the U.S. and its allies on one side and Russia and China on the other, who are becoming increasingly divided over what's going on in Ukraine.
The German Chancellor has urged China not to support Russia militarily, but instead use its clout to pressure President Putin to end his war against Ukraine. Olaf Scholz addressed Parliament in Berlin.
It is
disappointing that at the recent meeting of G20 finance ministers, China wasn't prepared to reaffirm what was consensus at the Bali summit, a clear condemnation of the Russian attack on Ukraine. My message to Beijing is clear. Use your influence in Moscow to push for the withdrawal of Russian troops.
Ukraine says Russian forces continue to attack Bakhmut, but that its troops there are repelling assaults on the city. Ukraine says it has limited strategic value. For Moscow, its capture would be a rare symbolic victory. The Greek station master accused of causing the country's biggest ever rail crash is expected in court later today, charged with manslaughter by negligence. 42 people were killed when a high-speed passenger service crashed into a freight train late on Tuesday night. Efforts to recover and identify the dead are continuing. A Red Cross rescue worker, Konstantinos Imanimidis, said it was a difficult task.
As much as we are trained to leave our feelings behind, certainly when you reach the scene and see this image, the first thing that comes to your mind is fear. You have to work only using your mind, your training and protocol.
The leader of North Korea has said that farms must meet their grain production goals without fail, amid reports that the country is facing a food crisis. At a meeting of the ruling party, Kim Jong-un called for better irrigation systems and machinery. Disaster management officials in the southern Malaysian state of Johor says the number of people displaced by flooding there has more than doubled to over 25,000. Johor's chief minister described the situation as critical and urged those affected to be patient. World news from the BBC. A tanker that sunk in the Philippines on Tuesday has started to leak its cargo of oil. It's threatening marine reserves, as Michael Bristow explains.
The Princess Empress went down in rough seas near the island of Mindoro after its engines overheated and failed. Search teams are trying to locate the sunken vessel so they can siphon off the oil. The ship is thought to be nearly half a kilometre down. The Philippine Coast Guard initially said that fuel spotted on the surface of the sea was diesel used to power the ship, not its cargo. But that now appears to be seeping out too, in an area that's being promoted to tourists for its natural beauty.
The United States has approved the potential sale of weapons, including missiles for F-16 fighter jets, to Taiwan, in a deal worth more than $600 million. It comes as Taiwan reported a second day of large-scale incursions into its air defense zone by Chinese aircraft. 4 Aboriginal spares taken by the British explorer James Cook and his crew when they landed in Australia are to be returned to their traditional owners. We get more in this story now from Sydney with Phil Masser.
The spears were taken by Captain Cook's crew after a confrontation with Aboriginal warriors in 1770 at what became Botany Bay in Sydney. They were given to Cambridge University's Trinity College a year later. First Nations elders in Australia have long campaigned for their return from the United Kingdom. They say the artefacts are a key part of Indigenous stories of creation. The university has told Australian media that it was committed to addressing the complex legacies of the British Empire.
That report from Phil Masser. This is the BBC World News.
Picture the scene.
A snake-hipped, long-haired young man dressed in a green plastic outfit with a necklace made of electrical cords takes to the stage. Accompanied by raucous electric guitars and drums, he begins to sing. When he reaches the chorus, he borrows a phrase from the student protests in France of May 1968. It's forbidden to forbid. But this isn't Paris. This is Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where a military regime is in power and artists and musicians will soon be the target of a brutal crackdown on the freedom of expression. The highly charged young audience had not expected what they were hearing from the singer.
But a number of other areas the government's actively involved. I think the Edinburgh reforms that the Chancellor announced a couple months ago now, very helpful. We have a lot of interest in the different aspects of that. I think the intermittent trading venue that has been touched upon in those reforms is a very interesting opportunity for this market. There's a capital markets industry task force that our team is working closely on and with that is also looking at a number of other reforms. So London continues to be the leading international financial center, but there is more that we can do to make it that much more attractive.
That was David Schwimmer from the London Stock Exchange Group speaking to me a little earlier this morning. Now, music streaming is a crowded market in the UK, dominated by entertainment giants Spotify, Apple Music and Amazon. But the French-based company Deezer also has a global reach and it's looking to increase its presence in Britain. Well, it's just announced a partnership with the speaker producer Sonos to power its streaming radio service, and it's just reported a 13% rise in annual sales to €451 million. Well, joining me now is the chief executive of Deezer, Geronimo Folguera. Geronimo, welcome to you. I mean, losses sharply reduced during the year. Do you have a date in mind when you might expect to report a profit?
Yes, so we're in a clear path to profitability. What we have said is that we aim to be cash flow break-even by 24 and accounting profitable by 2025.
Now, you said last year, roughly this sort of time, that you expected the digital market, music market, to double within the next 5 years. Do you still go along with that?
Yes, I really believe so. And I especially because in the last month, especially in the last year, we've seen that there's a lot of potential on the ARPU side. We have successfully rolled out new prices around the world with almost no impact on churn. And we see that there's a lot of potential for improving in ARPU in particular, not only just growth of volume in subscribers that has driven the music industry for the last 10 plus years.
ARPU, that's our average revenue per user, yeah. Now, you floated on the Paris stock market in July last year. It's been quite a difficult start to life as a listed company for you. Any regrets?
No, not really. So, of course, it has been a difficult market since then. The thing is that we were successfully able to secure enough funding to execute our plan. So we have very strong shareholders supporting us, led by Access Industry, but also some of the historical shareholders in France, including Orange. Also, the record labels have invested in our IPO as well. And on the back of that, we were able to raise enough capital to secure our funding needs. So we're very happy with that. Obviously, the share price performance has been a disappointment, but so has been the market as a whole. And there's never a perfect moment. And if we would have done it earlier or any other time, we would have probably suffered the same impact. Our view is that if we continue to deliver good performance, like we just announced with double-digit growth, substantial improvements in profitability, then the market at some point will value that, and also as the market bounces back and recovers, including our competitors, that will help.
Now, some of the IPO proceeds were used to expand in Germany, where you have a partnership with RTL. How's that been going?
So actually, the expansion in Germany is through the partnership with RTL, so that doesn't actually consume any of our cash. And neither will, for example, our expansion in the US and other markets through the Sonos partnership. So one big part of our strategy is to enter additional markets and win market share by partnering with people that can bring music to millions of customers without us having to do the very heavy investment in B2C marketing. So it's a very efficient model for us to do. We have a very competitive product, and we're the only ones willing to do a tailor-made solution for partners like RTL or Sonos. So we're the go-to place for proper tailor-made music solutions, and that is giving us a competitive edge without burning a lot of our cash.
These partnerships don't cannibalize your existing customer base?
Not really. So what we see in France is that some of this partnership actually is strengthening our brand presence overall. And in new markets, because we are available in 180 markets, so we're available everywhere in the world, but we still have a very, very small presence in places like the UK or the US. So with partners, what we do is we get to customers that otherwise we have not actually find out or used Deezer.
So would it be fair to speculate you're seeking similar partners here in the UK?
Absolutely. This is a fantastic market. The UK is the largest music market in continental Europe and in Europe as a whole. But especially the UK has an amazing history of music and bringing superstars. So we would be extremely happy to find a very strong partner in the UK to really go big in this critical market.
And how important is it to you to have some of these big record labels as your shareholders? Does that make life easier for you?
Well, actually, as the shareholders, they are basically not very involved. So our biggest relationship with them is more as a provider. And those relationships has not historically been very easy. But what I see is that they increasingly see the strategic value of Deezer, because the tech giants, they do music as a side business. It's not the core of what they do. Apple, Amazon, Google, they're not music companies, they never will be. Even Spotify is moving into other areas like podcasts and so on. And so Deezer, we are music streaming at the heart. We care about music and we really believe in making the entire ecosystem of music better. And in that sense, we really think that by partnering with the labels to create new ways of monetizing music and improving the ecosystem as a whole will benefit also. The relationship has improved a lot, and we see in the labels now partners to deliver the strategy that we want to execute. So that has substantially improved, and I think they are part of our future.
And in terms of your overall customer numbers, what's the split between people who take the service free and those who pay for a premium ad-free service?
So that's not a number we currently disclosed, but what I can say is that we're very focused in premium subscribers. So we're mostly focusing on premium subs rather than the free funnel, and that has historically been the case, and going forward will also be the case. Also because the economics and the unit economics for us are a lot stronger on the pay subscription. So advertising, for example, is just less than 2% of our revenues. So we're very subscription focused.
Okay, Geronimo, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.
Some other business news stories for you now, and it's a busy day for company results, let me tell you. The betting and gaming group Flutter Entertainment said this morning that it had received supportive feedback from shareholders about the prospect of obtaining a US stock market listing. The company, which was formed from the merger of Paddy Power and Betfair, recently began consulting over the move, which partly reflects the fact that the majority of business is now in the United States. Well, the news came as Flutter, whose other brands include Sky Betting and Gaming and Tombola Bingo, reported an adjusted operating profit of £1.04 billion for 2022. That was up 4% on the previous year. It admitted recent sports results going against it in December cost it £40 million in the UK and Ireland. FTSE 100 engineering giant Melrose said this morning it expects profits in its aerospace division to be significantly stronger this year due to the bounce back in civil aviation. Well, the division was previously part of GKN, the business Melrose controversially acquired for £8 billion in 2018. Simon Peckham, the chief executive, said he was very excited about prospects for the division, adding that its key programmes were increasingly weighted towards the single-aisle aircraft in the civil market that were benefiting from a significant ramp-up in demand. Well, Melrose reported a full-year pre-tax profit of £384 million for 2022 on an adjusted basis. That was up from £194 million in 2021. The consumer healthcare group Haleon today hailed both price increases and higher sales volumes after reporting a full-year operating profit of £1.83 billion for 2022. That was up 11% on the previous year. Well, the company, whose brands include Sensodyne and Aquafresh toothpaste, Centrum Minerals and Panadol painkiller, said sales grew by 9%, with just under half of that coming from price increases. Haleon, which was spun out of the drugs giant GSK last year, highlighted a strong performance from its respiratory health arm, thanks to a greater incidence of colds and flu this winter. And Taylor Wimpey this morning became the latest house builder to warn of a slowdown in the sector. The company said that although current trading showed some signs of improvement from the final 3 months of last year, its reservation rate was significantly lower than in recent years, as affordability concerns became a major problem for first-time buyers in particular. It now expects to complete between 9,000 and 10,500 homes this year. That's down from 14,154 in 2022. The company's full-year pre-tax profits rose by 22% to £827.9 million. Now, London has lost its top spot in Schroders' annual Global Cities Index, which ranks cities around the world on 4 criteria: economic, environmental, innovation and transport. I've been speaking to Hugo Machin, portfolio manager at Schroders Global Cities, and began by asking him how San Francisco came out on top despite rampant homelessness and the fact that many are leaving because it's unaffordable.
As an urban area, it's very, very strong, remains very strong. There's a lot of inward investment still going to San Francisco. I think where we would distinguish is that the downtowns of some of these West Coast cities, from a social perspective, have obviously are pretty challenging. Clearly, it's quite expensive, particularly now interest rates have kind of gone up in terms of buying your own home. But we would always point to where the job opportunities are. And the ecosystem in somewhere like San Francisco, from a tech perspective, is still very, very strong. So this is why San Francisco sort of heads the list this year.
And why Boston has scored so strongly as well.
Yeah, correct. For exactly the same reason. I mean, Boston over on the East Coast, but it's got that sort of biomedical research. You've got sort of, you've got MIT there, you've got Harvard there. So we always talk about cities that have, strong universities. Universities we sort of look as, that they're sort of the manufacturing component of the global economy, if you like, where ideas are manufactured and then monetized. And I think that's why Boston, again, is one of the sort of the leading lights for us.
Now, London and Manchester, the 2 UK cities in the index, both fell. Why was that?
Yeah, so, from a Schroders perspective, if you look at, what the sort of economists are saying and what the data is also sort of saying, I think that the labour shortage from a Brexit perspective has definitely played a part in terms of kind of future growth. There's been a bit of a pullback there. That's for sure. I think Truss and the Kwarteng sort of, announcement of, as far as, unfunded tax cuts as well, has certainly played into the numbers there from an economic perspective. But on the positive side, we assess cities on the basis of, transport. We assess them on the basis of, innovation, and also from an from an environmental perspective. And on all those 3 counts, Manchester and London still, look very, very good to us.
No room for Oxford or Cambridge or Edinburgh?
None of those cities make the top 30. I think interesting enough for Oxford and Cambridge in particular, one of the things that's come out of our research is the fact that we have very, very strong leading global universities, global centres of excellence, but it doesn't actually marry up with the amount of venture capital that goes into those particular areas, unlike somewhere like Stanford, in terms of San Jose and Silicon Valley. I mean, Silicon Valley was effectively spawned out of Stanford University, and we've never seen that transmission in terms of new businesses coming out of the likes of Oxford and Cambridge in quite the same way, even though from a ranking perspective, they're both absolutely up there.
Now, in general, American, Canadian and Australian cities outrank their European peers. Why is that?
I mean, I think, going back to the sort of the main pillars, it's all kind of in the data in terms of, the economic outlook seems to be stronger to us in terms of the numbers, and then on the sort of innovation scores. So if you take that kind of in entirety, there's also a component of scale as well. So we're always looking at sort of larger scale sort of cities, which kind of really help in terms of the sort of the future growth outlook. And also that kind of flywheel effect we always talk about. Once you've got sufficient scale, it kind of kicks in. The cities become more interesting, more jobs get created, more people are kind of drawn into them as well. So I think that's why those locations score better.
Looking at Asia, I'm quite surprised to see several Chinese locations outpointing Tokyo. And I mean, I get the growth idea, but from a livability perspective, surely Tokyo is better than all of those places.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair comment, actually. I think that where the Chinese cities really fall down is from an environmental perspective. And I mean that purely on the basis of, from a sort of a temperature and, for that kind of livability component brings the Chinese cities down. But actually, if you look at from an economic growth perspective, in terms of the likes of Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and those kind of that Greater Bay Area sort of location, these cities are, they're doing very, very well. They're really, really sort of strong, very, very large. Larger than most of the cities that we sort of see even in North America. Certainly larger than the cities in Europe. Tokyo is the largest city in the world, sort of by population, but we also don't see quite that sort of same level of sort of economic growth. I mean, if you think about just Shenzhen, I mean, it's the sort of electronics capital of the world now in terms of kind of manufacturing. So it's very much sort of stealing a march on the likes of Tokyo.
And no African cities in the index at all. Can you see a time when there will be?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a city sort of like Lagos, again, has kind of got sort of sufficient scale. There's a kind of a lot of stuff going on in the African cities. But, again, it's all relative, and we're always looking at the data. And as we see things at the moment, as far as the kind of the top 30 are concerned, none of those cities are making it into the top 30.
Any early forecasts for how next year's index might look?
Not at the moment, Ian, no. So I don't sort of see where things are going next year. We'll revise the data, towards the end of this year, and then we'll be able to sort of have a better indication of where things are going. But there are certain data points that don't move around so much, in terms of the numbers of the cities and various other areas. But it would be sort of worth pointing out that whilst it's quite slow moving, you see a city like Detroit, which is always interesting, isn't it? Because it was a bit of a one-trick pony as far as like car manufacturing is concerned. There's still a lot of embedded wealth in somewhere like Detroit, but it's actually a city that's de-urbanizing. So, we're always on the lookout to make sure that, that's not the case.
Bit of breaking news to bring you in the last few moments. WH Smith has said it's been the target of a cyber attack that has seen hackers access company data, including current and former employee information. More on that story as soon as we get an update on it. Now, among the best share price performers during the pandemic as e-commerce took off were the big property companies whose large distribution and logistics centres support the sector. Since then, excitement has cooled a little, leading to a drop in some asset values. Well, Tritax Big Box is the UK's largest listed investor in high-quality logistics warehouses and owns the UK's largest logistics-focused land platform. Today, it reported a full-year operating profit of £193.1 million. That was up 2.9% on 2021. Joining me now is Colin Godfrey, who is Chief Executive of Tritax Big Box. Colin, welcome to you. Lettings last year were your third strongest on record. What are you expecting to see this year?
Good morning, Ian. Thanks for having us on. Look, I think the occupational market is very strong. 38 million square feet let last year, the third highest on record, well ahead of the 10-year average. We're seeing very strong continued inquiries in our development activities on the ground and all of our sites across the UK. So whilst we are expecting to see occupier demand soften a little bit into the face of the potential for a recession and certainly the backdrop of the economic situation we're in right now, we do see long-term structural drivers looking to support that occupational demand. I mean, vacancy, it remains very, very low. It's nudged up from about 1.6% to 2%. But generally speaking, they're sort of historic lows that we've seen in the market more recently. And I think the key drivers really are, the desire for occupiers to improve productivity, benefit from cost savings, economies of scale benefits that they get from automation and larger scale warehousing where they can utilize volume, different from the older warehousing that you would have probably used to and familiar with in the past.
I mean, it's a fairly straightforward point to make, Colin, but I guess rings true. The fact that vacancy levels are so low means that supply is not keeping up with demand.
Well, I think supply did notch up a little bit, but I would say that demand still exceeds supply. Supply is quite controlled right now. We've seen that most of the land is in the control of investor developers who have been quite cautious. I mean, the backdrop of this, of course, is the planning system, which is quite archaic. It doesn't tend to flex much. You tend to get similar amounts of planning coming through each year, so that's a natural constraint. And actually, a lot of what we call the planning bucket has been largely eroded in recent times. So it was natural. We've started to see a supply side constraint, particularly in speculative supply, i.e. the buildings that are being constructed without a pre-let in place, where the tenant hasn't already pre-signed a lease. And therefore, I think that what we're seeing at the moment is probably a slight reduction in demand coupled with a constraint on supply. And that should mean that we continue to receive high quality rental income coming through. Now, in my view, the structural drivers in our market, which, I think are quite self-evident across everyone's lives in terms of the supply chain challenges, They are driving the desire for these efficiencies, etc. And our customers who the great and the good, Amazon, Kellogg's, Tesco, B&Q, by way of example, they all need these warehouses. Everything we touch, feel and use comes through a warehouse. So, longer term, we think that we do have the potential to outstrip inflation, once inflation moderates, through rental growth. And that's great news for our investors because, of course, that will filter through into attractive dividends. And this year we just increased our dividend by 4.5% to 7 pence per share.
I saw. You mentioned inflation there. What sort of impact is that having on construction costs?
Well, construction costs increased by about 25% during 2022. It did moderate as the year progressed. In the last quarter, it was about 2.8% up. And you're absolutely right, Ian. There is an intrinsic need for rents to grow to compensate. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to develop. So that's what we've been seeing more recently. But I think that the supply chain issues are starting to come under control a little bit. That has meant that construction cost price inflation has moderated. I would probably go as far as to say it's stabilising. And I think as that continues, and we are now moving more towards a tender process, whereas more recently it was negotiated because there just wasn't enough flexibility in the construction process and enough contractors willing to move into the tender process. So I do think that you'll see that come down and moderate, and we do need that. I think it will help the whole industry.
Now, earlier this week, of course, Rishi Sunak unveiled tweaks to the Brexit agreement concerning Northern Ireland. Is that going to boost trade? Will that have any meaningful benefits for you as a business?
Look, I think it has the capacity to boost trade at a macro level. And obviously that will filter through into the activities of our occupiers. For us as a business, we actually don't have any warehouses in Ireland at all. We most of our warehouses are in England, and we do have one in Scotland. But generally speaking, it won't have a direct impact on our business and what we do.
All right, Colin, got to leave it there. It's busy day results there. Do appreciate you speaking to me. Thank you.
That's a pleasure. Thank you, Ian. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Still to come here on Ian King Live. We'll have a look at how global markets are doing this Thursday morning. Don't go away.
Empowerment is always key to development. Doing good outreach under the auspices of His Royal Highness Osi Ejatakbo VII presents Avatime Youth Empowerment Outreach 2023 with the theme Run to Jesus, Your Only Savior, Acts 10 verse 38. Date is Saturday the 26th of March to Saturday, April 1st, 2023. Below are the dates and venues. 27th March, Avatime Vanle Community Center. 28th March, Avatime Amejokwe Market Square. 29th is Avatime Jokwepeme Primary School Compound. 30th March, Avatime Biakpa Community Center. 31st March, Avatime Bajame Community Center. Then April 1st is Avatime Fume and Jokwe Community Center. The time is 6:30 p.m. every day. Speakers: Reverend Michael K.M. Isiama.
We have redemption. We have been redeemed from the iniquities of the past. So you don't need to beg anymore. Oh, indeed, the Son of the living God.
Reverend Samuel Avagame and Reverend Prince Mauli Ejay kindly consider with a generous heart donating to this noble cause financially, materially, or with your time and presence. Note, there will be free health screening during the day for all. Contact us on WhatsApp 0044 7851 205 626 or on mobile 054 959 1452 054 959 1452 or email us at admin@powerwordint.co.uk.
Wall Street were followed by a tepid session overnight for equities in the Asia-Pacific region. Sydney, Shanghai and Tokyo were all more or less unchanged, while Hong Kong and Mumbai both fell. Well, stocks in Europe have also begun today largely on the back foot. That's the situation right now. All of the main continental European indices in negative territory. Here, the FTSE 100 is also in negative territory, off a third of 1% right now. It's an immensely busy day for company results, loads of them. There are 8 in the FTSE 100 alone. The leading blue chip gainer right now is the building materials group CRH. That's on its results, up nearly 10%, while Melrose, which I mentioned earlier in the programme, is ahead by some 2% right now. Another gainer in the FTSE is M&G. That's after Sky's Mark Kleinman reported last night that the Australian private equity giant Macquarie is considering bidding. I think M&G currently 2% to the good right now. FTSE fallers who are reporting today include the Lloyds Insurer Beazley Group. The shares off there by 8.5% right now. Meanwhile, the fund manager Schroders, the shares off some 3% there. Outside the FTSE, there are also a large number of companies reporting today. Among the highlights is National Express. The shares up nearly 13% right now on its trading update, but ITV, the shares are off some 3%. It had results out today as well. On the foreign exchange markets, well, the dollar strengthened after a sharp sell-off yesterday against the euro. As you can see, sterling is off by more than 2/5 of 1% right now against the greenback. The pound more or less unchanged right now against the euro. The single currency, meanwhile, is off a third of 1% against the dollar. As for the oil price, it's been trading in a fairly narrow range, to be honest. A barrel of Brent crude currently changing hands at $84.60 a barrel. That's up a little over a third of 1%. Joining me today is Anna Stupnitska, global macroeconomist at Fidelity International. Anna, good to see you, and lovely to have you in the studio as well. A lot of manufacturing data out to digest yesterday. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, it was actually quite interesting. We saw a pickup in manufacturing sentiment overall. The PMI indices, so this is the early gauge of activity, mainly driven by emerging Asia.
8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email and phone number. That's it, you're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination intact. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable and trustworthy.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. The whole of darkness.
So what did that
myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
All around the world.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Body is your ma. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Starr Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we they call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr Radio
UK.
Welcome
That's what makes you great. You hold the world in your hands. The hand.
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. I want to salute each and every one of you and welcome you to the Thursday edition of the morning show. Today is the second day of March, the year 2023, with the time now 10:41 from the hearts of London. So from now to 12:30, I'm going to be your captain, trying to take you through all the journey of, you know what? Bringing you what you need to know across the globe. From archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar, if it's making the headlines out that I do say all the time, I'm going to bring that your way. So once again, welcome, but let me say good morning to my team this morning. Mr. Olayomi, Koiki, Coach Jody, good morning to you, gentlemen. It's my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. Felix all the way in Aberdeen, massive good morning to you. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin, good morning. Mr. David Kruche, good morning. Dr. Martin, good morning. Anthony Adedeji, good morning to you. Bishop Adeshina, Pastor Momo, Pastor Emmanuel Chidi, good morning to you all. And a special good morning also goes to Olakunle, Aziz, Sam, Maxwell, and Moiwa. Good morning to you all. And as many of you who joined us, Samsudin Oladipupo, good morning. Well, the aftermath of the elections in Nigeria, what we hope to see. I mean, the president-elect Tinubu has is trying to call for some truce, trying to call for some reconciliation, creating a body that's going to see to, reach out to, his opponents there, so that they can together see to the ruling of the country, as whether it's going to bring them on or give them some appointment of a sort or something of the sort. We're not very sure about that, but hey, lots more going to be coming your way on this platform. Well, a couple of days after the train crash, a day after the train crash in Greece, or is it a day or 2 days after the train crash in Greece, we have the transport minister there resigning. If something like that happened in Nigeria or in Ghana or in any of the countries, do you think the transport minister or the minister in charge of a particular organization or ministry that has seen such a disaster will resign? No way. They will dig rather deep and then try to get themselves screwed rather than get bolted down there. But well, he has stepped aside. And then, well, Covey's messages leak. Massive betrayal, Hancock is saying. But the lady who decided to do so, Isabel Oxshott, says that why I leak Hancock's message, the journalist released what apps she obtained while working on the former health secretary's book. That is a betrayal, isn't it? Hold the world in your hands. Okay, so moving on to some other stories making the rounds as well that I'm going to be looking at. But prepare your hearts, oh God. Same for now, yesterday. Well. So for the program, I'm going to bring you the quote of the day, the weather forecast, the follow suit, and the travel updates from there as well. We continue to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. Then after that, at 11 o'clock, we have Olayomi Koiki, who will be joining in to bring you updates from Nigeria. The post-election reaction from Nigeria, we're going to be looking at. Then after that, we'll move on to some other African countries, and then we'll come to the UK to look at some of the stories making the rounds here and other parts of the world as well. At 12 o'clock, the lines are open for you to add your voice to the discussions, and then at 12:30 exactly, the currents are brought down for the end of the program. So in a gist, that's what's going to be happening today. But wherever you are, stay tuned, don't tag the dial, let's crack on. Great is to be praised. So the quote for the day says, great men are passionate to light the world. Great men are passionate to light the world. So what are you doing? Do you think that your efforts, your moves and your decisions that you're making today is lighting up the corner or brightening up the corner where you are? If not, then have a real look. It is Starr Radio UK.
You make a dawn to fade, and that's what makes you great.
Okay, Okay, so now moving on straight to the weather front, telling you about what is happening on the weather front this morning here in London and the southeast of England. Yes, well, you can tell me what is happening in your area as well, and I'll be glad, absolutely glad to share with our wonderful listeners. Now this afternoon we'll start off largely dry and bright with spells of sunshine. Now, however, it will tend to cloud over towards the end of the day, remaining dry. Now this evening will become largely overcast, but it will continue dry overnight. There will be plenty of cloud and just a few clearer intervals developing towards dawn. It's going to be chilly. Top temperature 10 degrees, the lowest 3 degrees. UV level low, pollution low as well. Sunset 17:42 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 06:45 hours. And that brings us to the end of the weather forecast. Now let's take a quick commercial break and let me bring you the travel updates. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
This is Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. I'll keep it updated. I promise I'll be on the Starr Radio UK Travel Update. I come to you every weekday from 10:40. So what's happening in the travel this morning? It's not 10:49, of course. Okay, so on your travel this morning on the underground here in the UK, in London, my apologies. Now the Jubilee line has got minor delays. That aside, all the others good service there. London Tramlink, London Overground, and DLR good service there. Now moving on straight to the major roads in London: A23, A24, A4, A40, A41, Blackwall Tunnel, Central London Red routes have all got closures. A1 has got serious delays. If you can avoid that, do your best to avoid that. Now moving on straight to the river bus. On the river bus this morning, the Woolwich area has got planned closures still, but all the others have got good service. Now the London cable car good service there as well. But keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. 10:50. Now moving on straight to the National Rail. On the National Rail, the final segment of the travel update. Now Greater Anglia has got minor delays. Northern Rail, severe delays, and Transport for Wales special service. So please check before you leave. But that aside, all the others have got good service there. So on that note, as I would do say all the time, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. You know what? Enjoy your coming for today, but continue to keep those eyes on the road.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now let's move on straight to some of these stories making the rounds this morning in the presidency, 2023 presidency. Peter Obi finally reveals what he would do after losing to Tinubu. Well, I'll be telling you more about that. And then INEC acted illegally in presidential poll that produced Tinubu as president. That's what Gumi is saying. So what did INEC do? Now, Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi says Independent National Electoral Commission has shown distrust and suspicion among Nigerians by failing to follow its guidelines for Saturday's presidential and federal parliamentary elections. Now, the INEC has failed the nation by sowing more distrust and suspicion because it failed to follow its own guidelines in conducting last week's election, Mr. Gumi has said. So, more, you want to know more going to be coming your way from Nigeria, and as well, more and more. And I think Rishi Sunak has congratulated the president-elect, but we'll be telling you more about that as the program goes on, exactly at 11 o'clock when we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki. But now, let's move on straight to some of the other stories. Aisha Buhari also now comes out to speak, congratulating the president, saying that the president-elect, saying that he is the best person. But as I said earlier on, Tinubu has set up a reconciliation committee to meet Atiku, Peterobi, and Kwankwaso. Do you think that will bring about any peace pipe to be smoked there? I don't know, but whatever it is, we'll be bringing more on that. Now, Macron lands in Libreville in the start of a 4-nation tour of Africa. He landed in Gabon's capital, Libreville, on Wednesday, and will later head to Angola, Congo, Brazzaville, and the neighboring Democratic Republic as well. So we're going to be telling you more about that as the program goes on. Now, vessel carrying Russian crude oil to Ghana loaded from Kazakhstan port. Okay. A vessel carrying Russian crude oil to Ghana was loaded from Kazakhstan port. All right then. So not from Russia, but I'll be telling you more about that. What is Ghana's stance about the war that is going on, the invasion, let me put it that way, of Ukraine by the Russians? What do you think is going on there? We'll be telling you more about that. The health minister should have been fired by now. Send Ghana on child immunization vaccines shortage. But as I did say earlier on, some hours after the derailment and the accident that happened in the rail crash that happened in Greece, now the minister in charge of transport has resigned. But if you come to Ghana, you come to Nigeria, you come to no. As I did say, they will now try to actually get themselves well seated and well buckled down so that they cannot move from there. But what do you think about our ways, the way we move or do things? I used UT Bank to bail out Akufo-Addo of Oriata, but they collapsed it. Kofi Amoabeng is saying. Now, there are people who are talking about the fact that they have held the government in a way. The former chief executive officer of defunct UT Bank, Prince Kofi Amoabeng, has accused President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta of backstabbing him. Well, maybe at the time you did whatever you have to do, but they are thinking that you didn't toe the line, and that's why they have been going that way and decided to take him down. Now, a Beige Bank case, I can't tell if Ghana's 3 million Ghana cedis ideal finance plan was siphoned. That's what a witness is saying. We'll be telling you more about all that in a moment. But Chiana Paga MP lambasts government over last borrowing to clear NIA 100 million Ghana cedis debt. When will the borrowing stop? Well, you want to know more? It is Starr Radio UK. Continue to keep your dials to London Star, and I will be telling you more about that. It is Starr. Now let's move on straight to some other stories making the rounds here in the UK. Now, COVID messages leak a massive betrayal. That is what Hancock is saying. Journalist Isabel Oxshott says it was in their national interest to publish ex-health secretary's text without his consent. Well. W.H. Smith. Information coming to that breaking news that came through a moment ago. W.H. Smith staff data hit by cyber attack. It's a current and past staff data has been hit. So if you had worked there, please check your data. I mean, be careful, because it might be that somebody you have all these dodgy calls and all those. You have to be careful now. I don't know whether you can change some of your password. I don't know how that's going to working though. But well. Okay, and Rees-Mogg had COVID test couriered during shortage. We'll be telling you more about all that is happening here. I think they think that Mike Hancock it's like how things easy or is just moving on with his life. But people want to serve. But what do you think about all that? More going to be coming your way from there. And also, police question couple after a baby's body found that Constance Martin and Mark Gordon are being held on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. Wow. More going to be coming your way from there. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Angry protests erupt over Greek rail disaster. Many protesters see the crash, which claim 43 lives as an accident that had been waiting to happen. My goodness. And US and Russia trade blows over Ukraine at G20. The war in Ukraine is expected to overshadow talks as the world's biggest economies meet. More going to be coming your way from there. How fake copyright complaints are muzzling journalists. Now, articles critical of powerful African oil lobbies are being targeted by false copyright claims. So, lots more going to be coming away from there. Indian guru's fictional country attended UN events. Starbucks illegally fired workers over union judge. The coffee chain is ordered to rehire the ex-workers and compensate others affected. An explosive found in Czech in luggage at U.S. airport. The device detected in screening at the Pennsylvania airport posed a significant risk to aircraft. Where was the man taking those explosives to? Was he trying to fly them to another country or? What do you think? Well, China and Belarus call for peace in Ukraine. Really? But I'm bringing you more on that front. We know that Belarus supports Russia's invasion and everything. So why would they call for peace? Well, if you want to call for peace, he could have gone to his boss man and just said, you know what? Let's bring about a bit of peace there. But what do you think? Lots more going to be coming your way from there. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now let's enjoy this tune from Carl Clotte featuring Joe Metal, and it says Mokobe, no one else. Enjoy it and I'll be with you.
This is Starr Radio UK. In your car,
at work,
at home,
on your smartphone, broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Ancient of days, our Lord, our God, beside you, there is no one else. And I'm not sure that's what the song is saying. So some way, somehow, it seems unsurmountable. And you think that, well, the odds are all against you, coming out to look for you, to destroy you. Some way, somehow, I wanted to believe one thing. We still have somebody up there who still works on our behalf. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 4 minutes past the top of the hour at a time. From Carl Clotte featuring Joe Metal, Mokobe. Okay, whilst we try to just get a few of the commercials through, whilst we wait for Mr. Olayomi Koiki to join in. Yes, stay tuned, don't tag the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Empowerment is always key to development. Doing good outreach under the auspices of His Royal Highness Osi Ejatakbo VII presents Avatime Youth Empowerment Outreach 2023 with the theme Run to Jesus, Your Only Savior, Acts 10 verse 38. Date is Saturday the 26th of March to Saturday April 1st, 2023. Below are the dates and venues. 27th March, Avatime Vane Community Center. 28th March, Avatime Amechokwe Market Square. 29th is Avatime Jokwepeme Primary School Compound. 30th March, Avatime Biakpa Community Center. 31st March, Avatime Bajame Community Center. Then April 1st is Avatime Fume and Jokwe Community Center. The time is 6:30 p.m. every day. Speakers: Reverend Michael K.M. Esiama.
We have redemption. We have been redeemed from the iniquities of the past. So you don't need to beg anymore. Oh, in Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God.
Reverend Samuel Avagame and Reverend Prince Mauli Ejay kindly consider with a generous heart donating to this noble cause financially, materially, or with your time and presence. Note, there will be free health screening during the day for all. Contact us on WhatsApp 0044 7851 205 626 or on mobile 054 959 1452 054 959 1452 or email us at admin@powerwordint.co.uk.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 7 minutes past the top of the hour, and amazing how God, the one and only, the white lion, and still, yes, my brother doing his best, trying to bring you everything that you need to know when it comes to Nigeria from our North London studios, Mr. Olayomi Koiki. And let me say, Yummy, good morning.
Well, a very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers from around the globe, and welcome to the second day of March 2023. 8 minutes past 11, and it's good to be back again with you, Archie. And a very good morning to Frank, and likewise, K. Bossman and the rest. And we look forward to the property hour later on this evening.
Yes. So how are you? How are you doing in the family as well?
Well, like we always say, when we are live, we got to be grateful. There's a lot happening in the world. I've been following the situation in Tel Aviv. Protest is going on there. I've been following, the sad situation, leaving your house and never know whether you're coming back. In the Greece, where there was a train accident, human error. Human error is a big problem, and sometimes, people have to pay the heavy consequence. So when we are live, and the family is good. We just have to be grateful. So I'm grateful, and it's good to be back with you again this morning.
Well, listen to Starr Radio UK. Before we go to a summary of what was discussed on Niger Voices yesterday, let me quickly, because you brought in that Greece issue. Now, we have a situation where the Minister of Transport has resigned. Now, when back in Nigeria, we had the former Minister of Transport, yes, and there was this, the derailment and the attack by bandits or whatever, terrorists on that route. He was still there until he wanted to go and contest for a presidency, and then he decided to rest. So how do you see we behaving like the way these ones are advanced world, the way they behave?
Well, these are so many reasons why we look up and ask the question, are we really running a country, or are we running a country, kutographic, like, Chief Toladini says, and when he was at, politics of the macho man. One thing is, until African leaders, get to a stage where they have to pay for the consequence of their negligence. What took place in Greece is not as different as what happened in Nigeria, which was March last year. Dr. Chinelo, she'll still be alive with us. She was just about 72 hours to travel, to further probably her career in Canada. Nigerians were killed, regardless of their, ethnicity, their tribes, but yet the Minister for Transportation was coming out to tell us that, he was telling the government, the same government that is currently in, and right there and there, he should be resigning. But because it is Nigeria, and he thought by coming to jog, before the campaign, just to tell us that Tinubu that you are trying to bring in is not as healthy as I am, but is not as healthy to detect that there's a criminality that he should be serving right now, even after being released. And that is why we looked at it. Let's look at the Greece, and ask the question, what is the population of Greece, and would it not be better to be in a country where you are guaranteeing your life? And this is why the Yorubas and the Biafra are saying that as much as we would have loved to all be in Nigeria, but Nigeria has not have that rule of law. Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped, rendition back to Nigeria. Omoyele Sowore was given an house arrest for almost 2 years. And I would love to be in a country like Greece, less than 10 million, rather than being in Nigeria, that takes us into the Starr Radio Niger Voices yesterday, where 93.5 million eligible voters, but only 25 million voted. And out of that 25 million, we are now having problem to get whether that election was conclusive, was credible. But the Americans have said, if anybody has a problem, you can go to the court for adjudication. Starr Radio UK, and I'll come back again to you in the studio as we continue to look into the headline and what took place yesterday on Niger Voices.
Well, listeners, updates from Nigeria. 12 minutes past 11 here in London, in the North London studios. We have Mr. Olayomi, Koiki, I'm Archie here, and we are going to bring you that. Now, yesterday, Niger Voices took place. As I did say, now, if it was your first time of listening to that program or viewing that program, we promise you that every Wednesday it will be coming your way. Okay? You have some time with Mr. Olayomi, Koiki, and you're able to interact, say whatever you want to say. You have ample time, 2.5 hours. Yes, and we hope that you're going to come back. But Yomi, so for the sake of those who, due to work or busy schedule or something, so they missed out on that, or those that we want them to know that, look, there's a program like that going on. What was discussed, and what were the views? How was the reaction, the post-election issues?
Well, in every part of the world, when things happen, that you have to review, what actually happened and how can we make sure that such is not happening, whether good or bad. Yesterday, Niger Voices is a program that comes on air every Wednesday, come rain, come cold, we come down to give you everything happening in Nigeria. Even some are already saying that, for someone that believes in self-determination, maybe we should change the narrative to Yoruba voices, but we said, it is still okay as it is right now, since we have opportunity to have other conversation in it. So yesterday, 18 presidential candidates campaigned throughout the country, and the result came out, after couple of days by INEC. The result is still being looked into, and as much as of today, There is no congratulatory message from the two opposition that were also making, the headline. But if you have missed that program, go back onto the timeline of Niger Voices on Star Radio UK. Follow us on Twitter. But a lot of those that were listening, some believe that the reason why we are seeing what is happening, that the last election that was free and fair was the 1993 election. Even though that gave us the democracy that we are enjoying today, should that have been allowed, without being cancelled by the military dictator Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, that would have been a stepping stone. But the world still believes that we can still do something around this. And yesterday, right here from UK, Rishi Sunak has already congratulated Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and likewise the US state government has also congratulated Nigeria, even though both of them agree that there's a flaw in the election. But if anybody has a problem, you should take it to the court where it can be looked into. So the conversation yesterday was asking the question, do we continue with election every 4 years that is meant to be planned? We are talking about 400 billion naira was invested in this election. And as I'll continue to get more videos coming up, imagine, let me give you some of the videos that I've watched in a particular state, in Ekiti State, where the result has been uploaded. When you click on that result, it comes up with a female face picture. There's another one in Lagos State. If you upload the result, it's giving you a result from Nasarawa. Could it be a human error? But Nigerians are still asking questions, and some Nigerians are still angry, bitter. But Buhari says, go to court and deal with the problem there. It's never going to be perfect. It's a continuity.
Well, listeners, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London on a Thursday morning, where we are here to bring you all that you know. And that was a slim view of what you missed out on the Niger Voices. But straight, let's go on to what is happening currently. Now, we have the Prime Minister of the UK and the Americans as well congratulating Bola Tinubu and saying that, well, these are free and fair elections some way, somehow. But we know that Atiku and Obi have not conceded yet. They've not called Tinubu to congratulate him, so that means they've not conceded. And we know at the moment that Peter Obi is set to take legal action. To go to the courts. But looking at everything, do you think that will, bring about anything? And with the fact that we have got the UK and some of the US congratulating, there might be other countries also, congratulating them. What difference would that make?
Well, the difference it's going to make is that, it calms the situation down. You need, I believe the government is going to be very, very happy, especially President Muhammadu Buhari. He has met with Joe Biden a few times. He was there at the United Nations. He promised that this election will be credible, free and fair. If that is not free and fair, but at least, he delivered the election at a very, very good time scale. There was a lot of expectation that maybe this election will be postponed. But the last one that we know was in 2011. So there's always been a postponement of the election, but this time around, it seemed President Muhammadu Buhari was not going to cave in, even in the midst of the chaos before the election. Remember that we were discussing, the money crisis, the fuel scarcity. But now that the US and UK, and like you said, some other countries, because Australia is also congratulating. I've seen the foreign, minister that is currently in attending a summit, and the Australian is also making a congratulation. This is what the US say in their looking into their statement, which I'm going to read a little bit out of it. We understand that many Nigerians and some part of the parties have expressed frustration about the manner in which the process was conducted and the shortcomings of the technical element that were used for the first time in the presidential election cycle. Nigerians are clearly within their right to have such concerns and should have high expectation of the electoral process. We join other international observers in urging INEC to improve in the areas that needs the most attention ahead of the March 11 gubernatorial election. There are well-established mechanisms in place for the adjudication of electoral dispute, and we encourage any candidate or party seeking to challenge the outcome of the pursuit redress through those mechanisms. We call on all parties, candidates, and supporters to refrain from violent or inflammatory rhetoric this critical time. So what America has actually done now is going to be pleasing the federal government to say to Nigerians, We know that you are concerned, but the last thing that we want to see on the social media, in the media, is violence erupting in every part of Nigeria today.
Well, listeners, Starr Radio UK. Now, if you are listening to us, do you think violence is going to erupt? Well, we have, let me say good morning to Anthony Adedeji, who has also joined us. But we have the president-elect, Tinubu, who is somehow stretching an olive branch to Atiku and Peter Obi. And I was asking myself the question, what does he want to do when people, we have some cleric, let me try to get a name, who has come out, it's one of the clerics, the Muslim clerics Gumi, who has come out to say that INEC acted illegally in presidential poll that produced Tinubu as president. So somebody that you thought maybe will stay out of it, or maybe be happy about, a Muslim ticket, blah, 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 saying, no, wait till the INEC didn't do the right job. But you see Tinubu also saying, guys, come. I don't know whether it's going to give them appointment. I don't know exactly what is going to happen. So what do you think is happening there?
Well, you're quite right. Gumi is not, new to Nigerian politics, and he's also had a lot of engagement when it comes to, the terrorism happening in terms of, visiting, the terrorist base, in terms of, trying to get those that have been kidnapped, and, money exchange as well. And for him to be coming out also indicate that as much as there's already been a lot of issues regarding, Tinubu and Shetima as a Muslim ticket. To put salt on it is now for INEC. If this election has gone smoothly and Tinubu has won, even though they said that, Tinubu has won the election with about 8 million, the question then is, with the issue of the Muslim ticket, INEC playing out what they've done, Tinubu winning, and now asking Atiku and Obi, Tinubu is trying to hold them as a party are rejecting that. They want to go to the court to contest this election. And if you're doing so, you're definitely not going to be saying congratulatory to the president. And even that means that the APC, will have to still have it at the back of their mind that they will be going to the court. How long the court process takes will depend, in the first 4 years of this government, whether it's going to be done as quickly as possible, and the new mandate will be given to the new person, or Tinubu might end up completing it 4 years. Remember that we almost have something similar when Atiku was challenging the election in 2019.
Yeah.
And at some point, towards end of last year, there was a lot of, expectation that the court was going to rule against Buhari and give it to Atiku. And that means Atiku will have to start all over again for 4 years. And this is what happened why we don't have the, the cycle of all the states having election together with the federal, because challenges is going on. Let me remind you that Osun State is still being challenged from the APC on the PDP, and that is still going on in the court. So should that be turned around under the election tribunal, then we might have Tinubu have done 2 years, and Atiku comes back, or Peter Obi comes back and start afresh again.
Now, if you look at the percentage of people who turned out to go and vote, we are looking at about 30%. Let me give it, 30% of people going out to vote. Now, do you think that the call by various groups, like the Yoruba and the IPOP calling the Southeast to sit down and all that stuff, do you think that might have played a role, and virtually it ended up somebody being voted for, whether it was 2% or whatever, whether it was free and fair, somebody being voted for? Do you think it has played a role?
Well, it's played a role in the sense that, and that's the certificate of return there by Tinubu picking it up, and with the wife next to him. I was looking at the numbers that Tinubu was used to win this election. We're talking about almost 8 million. For argument's sake, 3 million from the Southwest, even though we know it's not up to be 3 million because he had to get vote across 36 states. So if 3 million from the Yorubas voted Tinubu, and we have another 3 million that disagree, that says they want the right to self-determination. So where does that lead us? How do American and the UK look into these issues? Because if 3 million voted, even though we have more than that number, because Osun State alone has about 4 million. So if among all the 8 Yoruba states can get 3 million to endorse and vote for Tinubu for the APC, and we also have the rest of the 3 million that says again that we don't want to be part of Nigeria, How do we balance the situation was the conversation that we were having from the sister broadcast before joining you. But one thing is, the Biafra are now putting, hands to the Ohanians and say, look, now that Peter Obi is not your president, an Igbo president, you wanted this Igbo presidency so that it will balance the unity in Nigeria. This is not coming true anymore. If Peter Obi even lose out from the court, he would then have to wait another 4 years, and that is if the North is going to allow that, because the North will say, under the rotation, Tinubu has been taken for 4 years, or maybe they might allow Tinubu to continue for another 4 years. So 8 years, just as Buhari has spent, we might not have an Igbo president since for another 8 years. So the question then from the Biafra is, maybe this is the time to come and join the Biafra struggle.
Now, Jaja Empire says, yes, Biafra is sure, and we can't wait any longer to exit Nigeria. Jaja, good morning to you and to all of you who are listening in to the program this morning. Wherever you are, don't touch the dial. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to 11:25. Now, let's come to the other story pertaining to just a moment, the court that we know that Peter Obi is going. Now we have the court that has ruled several times, and we know that it's not been any good news from there. It's not been any good thing from there. So what are they expecting?
Presidential election, judge acting like juju priest, no hope for justice, says Odinkalu. I am one of those who have lost hope, so please don't speak about some. That is one of the reasons I no longer can claim to be a lawyer. This is coming from someone that is meant to be a legal practitioner in Nigeria. As opposition parties announce plans to contest Saturday's presidential election result in the court, human rights activist Chidi Odekalu says he does not expect justice to be dispensed by the judiciary, likening judges' conduct to that of a juju priest and court to voodoo shrine. According to him, the allegations of widespread fraud and violence during the presidential poll, with some of the international observers saying the same thing. He has said that he has lost hope completely, so please don't even talk about it. According to an interview he granted, the former National Human Rights Commission boss said the kind of things that come out of our court these days can only manufacture by juju priests and a voodoo shrine. I did not train for either and lack the qualification to practice any of those, Mr. Odukalu said. This is not just about technicality, it is about barefaced abuse of judiciary office. Going to court these days cannot be fulfilling or meaningful for those who do it at any level, from the area court, magistrate, court of district. Imagine here in UK, I mean, you are almost given an option to settle out of court, because going to court is not something that a lot of us love here, but sometimes it has to happen if the case is a criminal offense. But one thing is, juju court is more of like it, according to these, which answer the question that you just raised.
Juju court. Well, we'll see what happens. Somebody said that the federal government has not adhered to any of the rulings of the Supreme Court and other courts. So what is the chances? And when last time in 2019 the court article went to court pertaining to, saying that INEC should come and prove that the election that they undertook was free and fair. INEC, when they were supposed to provide this about their service, they said that they didn't have any records on their service. They couldn't even access it. Virtually. So we didn't go there. So are the people going to accept whatever has gone on with Peter Obi and Atiko? We know Atiko is a big calm, but Peter Obi, will he? Going for the first time as a presidential candidate with his party and winning about 6 million. Will he accept what has gone on? Did Tinubu?
And that's a huge number. If you look at the number that Peter Obi was able to pull out of the the situation, as a first timer. Under a party contested as a presidential vice president under PDP. It shows that Nigerians were tired. Just to show the graph there, you can see it right there on the screen. 6 million Nigerians voted for Peter Obi, whether they were Yorubas, Igbos, Hausas, Kanuri, Efik, all the 370 groups, based on the campaign it took across each of these states. So is he going to just accept that defeat is the question, like you asked. He's going to try and make the push to the court, but looking at the judicial system, just like Chidi was saying there, Peter Obi would have to push everything, maybe to take it to International Criminal Court or somewhere around outside or African Union. I'm not sure whether it can get a delivery of that result, because remember that even the opposition that has won will be doing everything to dismantle whatever they are bringing to the court, either through bribery, intimidation, or changing because when Tinubu comes in now, he will be able to change a lot of offices, Chief of Army Staff, AGF, and since they are still also leading under the Senate and the House of Rep, they will just get a pass on without any rejection of anybody Tinubu will be presenting.
Interesting. Well, listen to Star Radio UK. Mobola G. Abdullahi says, good morning, Mr. Archie, and good morning, Mr. Koiki. God bless you all. Your team, Yoruba Nation, no going back. God bless CSI. Okay. God bless you too, Mobola G. Now, continue to send your messages through, and I promise you one thing for sure, that we're gonna touch on that. But it is Star Radio UK. Let's go for some more of the stories going on in Nigeria. Over to you, Yomi.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Archie. And let's quickly look into some of the other headlines that we have. Right there, PDP members drum support for Oyo APC government candidate. Oyo State is a PDP, but there is a problem between the governor that was also part of the G5. Even though Benue State governor lost his senatorial seat to someone else. So it seems that the PDP are now drumming support, from another state as we have it. INEC have declared rep election inconclusive in Sokoto State. Fayose dumps PDP, says Atiku rejected a one-time offer. Fayose was a former governor of Ekiti State and also someone that disagreed that Atiku should have done the needful, and that is the reason why they're where they are today. Emilio Kon, the kingmaker who became the king, is coming up as the headline as well. The bank asset rise to 73 trillion naira. Out talk chase us from River Coalition Center APC agent. That is also coming as well. A resident cry for help as miscreant terrorized Lagos community. Court remand robber for stealing and raping. Ondo farmers are asking the governor to help them, as also Akwa Ibom pastor raped stepdaughter and is now going to be serving 21 years jail sentence. Let's take a look at some of the other headlines at 11:31, still on Star Radio UK. One woman dies every 2 minutes during pregnancy, is one of the headlines as well. We do know that healthcare is a big, massive problem in Nigeria, and just as is a global issue. One woman dies every 2 minutes pregnancy, according to the WHO. An estimate of about 287 women globally die from a maternal cause, equivalent to almost 800 maternal deaths every day. And Nigeria is also, not excluded. There is also still more court cases going on. The United Nations is training 100 Nigerian girls on coding in Niger Republic. That is also coming up. Tinubu, a good man, will perform very well. Well, what do you expect him? That is the one that also destroyed the election in 1993. Ibrahim Babangida, we just talked about him earlier on. Babangida is coming up with the headline that is coming on the screen as well. Tinubu is a good man. He will perform as a president. Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. 109 billion naira fraud. The court cases, you can never trust them, but it is still has to be done. But that is if you get a result or judgment. But if you're a layman, I'll be rest assured that is either you bribe your way through quickly or you'll be sentenced and you might end up, because remember that Bamisha was killed a year ago, February, about 26th of February in Lagos State. Till today, the case is still ongoing because the family doesn't have the means. The Lagos State is suppressing the rule of law because the incident actually happened on the Lagos transport system, which is known as BRT. So 109 billion naira fraud. The court has adjourned the trial of the suspended AGF. EFCC alleged that Mr. Idris, among others, accepted gratification between February and December 2021 while being in a public servant. He is the former ex-accountant general of the country, and currently right now there's a court case in Abuja that have adjourned it to May 11, for Idris Ahmed to come back. Mr. Idris was dragged to the court by the EFCC, also known as the Economic and Financial Crimes, alongside Jeffrey Olusegun Akindele, Mohammed Kudu Usman, and Gizawa Commodity Market and Exchange Limited on 14-count charge bordering on diversion of public funds to the tune of 109 billion naira. Let me come back again to you in the studio at 11:34, and when we come back, we'll just take a look at what is trending on Twitter, as what is trending still focus on the 2023 general election. Starr Radio UK.
Well, listeners, Starr Radio UK, Mr. Olayomi Koiki in our North London studios. Jaja Empire says the only solution to solve Nigeria's problem is to disintegrate. Now, because with the dangerous diversities in Nigeria, it will make it impossible to unite as one. Okay, it goes on further to say the good fight for justice, equity, and fairness by the Nigerian youth must be focused on disintegration of Nigeria. Let's go back to the way we were before the British came to create Nigeria. Well, somebody would say that looking at the past, we were all very small villages, fragmented somewhere, and somehow we are brought together so that we become bigger, and in unity is strength. But someone will tell you that in this unity where people feel they are being marginalized, their lives are being threatened, what is the point of that unity? And that's why some people are calling for that disintegration. So if you are a unionist when it comes to Nigeria, you have your choice. And those who think that the best way forward is to break away or also have their voices, but make your voices heard, and we're sure that we're going to be reading it out and making sense of it with all our listeners. Okay, now let's go back to now the G5 governors. Which of them has lost their seat, or they've not had their election yet?
Well, Wike is not coming back, so okay. He's finishing his term. But we know that Benue State have lost its own seat. Ebonyi, not as a governor, they've already completed their term as a governor, but what they normally do is they run again to the Senate, just sit down there. Like one has been there for almost 16 years, but he has been unleashed by the Labour Party. So it looks like the Labour Party was a kind of a tsunami that came in and took as many off. So, but your state governor is going back. How that is going to be managed, he has actually endorsed APC Tinubu, even though as a PDP governor. So how is now going to manage, the next election in the state, where we're going to have to look and say that. But the G5, was almost trying to bring down Atiku, but it seems that every one of them have brought each other down. Wow.
I think they'll be biting their fingers for whatever has happened. Now let's quickly touch on Bamishe's situation. Now, why has the Lagos Lagos state government not actually seen to, because the vehicle on which this lady died on, raped and whatever happened on, was the state. Now, those vehicles are supposed to be insured. I don't know that if that those vehicles are involved in accidents, the passengers will have to just go home and go fend for themselves. No, I don't think that it should be so. So why is the government failing? Because if the family can still not get money compensation, whether money to go and she's been buried, right?
Well, she was buried after so much. The family thought, the best thing they can do for Bamishe was to give her the final burial rites. So Bamishe has been buried by the family after a very long time, and quite a lot of dispute around her as well. But one thing is, like you said, the case of Bamishe is a very, very sad one, and justice is not yet been served. The governor of Lagos State is not doing so much. They are trying to suppress justice, and in any situation when you suppress justice, then it comes back, with what we can call a revolution, from the citizen. Bamishe has not committed any offense. The only offense she committed was boarding, the Lagos transport system, that would have saved her. This is not a public transport. This is a public transport, but eventually Bamise did not survive the. Each time I listen to the video that she released, that she's actually sent to one of her friends, maybe they could have done a little bit more, but you don't know when things is going to happen, especially when she was the only one on the bus. Eventually she was a little bit worried because the bus did not pick up any other passenger. The lighting in the bus was turned off, but she was doing a short video. She was able to capture the vehicle number. She sent that as a WhatsApp to a friend, but in that video she was also advising the friend not to raise any alarm, because if this was a false alarm,
she didn't want to cause trouble.
Cause trouble.
Yeah.
So maybe if she has done a little bit but again, she's gone now. But the question is, Lagos State is trying to suppress justice, and that is why the court case. There was a court case last month, and that was adjourned because the prosecutor did not come with the evidence.
Wow. Justice for Bamise, hashtag Bamise. We hope that now we all make noise about that, so that the government, the Lagos State government, if the particular the state vehicle transport that was providing that service didn't have insurance, then the state government will have to see to find ways and means to compensate this family for their loss. All right. Yes, you don't know when next is going to be your turn or somebody close to you, and therefore we have to add our voices to that. So that campaign is going to start on Starr Radio UK. We're going to be making lots of noise on that. They need to see to address that. All right, then, Starr Radio UK. Now let's go to Yomi so that he can bring us what is happening on the social media platform. Over to you, sir.
Well, we just look at what is trending again this morning. IPOB is trending. The Yoruba Nation Clubhouse, the native intelligence of community, is based on his women. We just talked about Bamise, and the screen is just going to bring a what is reflecting to this coming from the Yoruba Clubhouse, based on these very beautiful image that they have with that as well. So if you look at these image that I've got right there, they are actually saying that this is who we are. This is the culture that has been taken away from us. But eventually, as a lot of people are still saying that we should remain as one in Nigeria, Yoruba Clubhouse is one of the Yoruba self-determination movement that also does a lot of things as well. So the native intelligence of every community is based on its women flock. Women are the builders of the home and society. Women raise the future generation of every people group. A strong Yoruba future will be based on purely on a generation raised by women, by Yoruba mothers and queen. So that is coming from there as well. So let's take a look at what is trending as well. Again, Yoruba Nation not going back. Save Lagos Now is also coming up as well. Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria official score, and this is like Arsenal and Manchester. This is put by Dele Ogun. So it seems that I think we should let you see this as well. So they've actually in the score line use the pen to remove what was the score sheet, and then they've added, with the pen, and this is what it looks like. So I'm sure, maybe this is what happened when those are watched. So you can see that. So this is the INEC in Nigeria. 2-0 is leading, but eventually that was changed. So it's become 3-2. So Dele Ogun is actually saying Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria official score report. So what a very interesting one there. And then let's quickly just at 11:42, time is quite spent. Some of the other things: Labour Party and PDP is trending. IPOB is trending at 62,000. As they're still pushing as well. Sit at home continue on Monday. Will be introduced in Lagos if I'm elected as IPOB. So it seems that with the image of the Sanwo-Olu says that sit at home will be introduced in Lagos if I am elected. IPOB candidate Sanwo-Olu declares. So just the jovial one there. Nigeria's real president-elect Peter Obi will address the press this afternoon. Stay tuned. It was meant to address yesterday, but for whatever reason that didn't come up. So this is how far we can go this morning edition. But we hope you will be with us again tomorrow when we come back to look into the 2023 election right here on Starr Radio UK. We also continue to remember these our brother as well. He's a Yoruba Self-Determination Media. He's based in Turkey, but since last year he has been held into what we can call not unknown or known, because even the family are not sure why. Ijile Marcos, as is known, is a Yoruba Self-Determination Media. We are not sure what has actually happened, but since last year, he has been held without any court case going on, and the family keeps saying they are not too sure what is going on as well. So we'll continue to remember him as well as a media that is held in Turkey, and we hope that the Turkic system, the Nigerian government, we are not sure whether they are involved. We'll continue to look into the reason why Ijile is still being held in Turkey.
Wow. Now, if anybody knows or have any information pertaining to Ijile, please get in touch, and then let's see how, because at times we know because of maybe his stance as a supporter or a sympathizer of the Yoruba nation, like what happened, and then they brought Nnamdi Kanu. We're not saying that that's what has happened. No, we don't have any evidence to that, but we don't know. So if you have any information pertaining to where he is, please make sure you get in touch with us. David, he said Biafra is all we need. Wow. Thank you very much. Let your comments come through, and I promise you one thing for sure, that we're going to read all that. But Yomi, before you go,
well, we'll be back again.
Oh, sorry, listeners. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Yomi. Yeah, go on.
Make sure you stay tuned, and I'll be back same time tomorrow. It is still the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'll leave you in the hands of Mr. Archie, and have a very good afternoon. Bye for now.
All right, then. Bye-bye. Okay, listeners, it's Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to 11:45 from the Hearts of London, and it is the Thursday edition of the morning show. Let's take a quick commercial break. Once we come back, I'll bring you some lovely tune, and we continue with the conversation. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Starr, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy. Welcome back to the program Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 11 minutes to the top of the hour. David says, I don't want to associate with anything Nigeria. Release my leader, MNK. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That's what he is calling for. He said that's all that he wants. Just give that to him. All right then. So Star Radio UK. I'm going to bring you some music now. This is from Mika Paris. No, Ash, not Mika Paris. Ash, and it says "No Woman, No Cry." It's a cover version of Bob Marley's tune "No Woman, No Cry." Enjoy it, and I'll be with you. We'll look at some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of Africa.
Shed no tears, no woman, no cry. Said I remember when we used to sit in the government yard and trenched out, about observing the hypocrites mingle with the good people with me. Good friends we have and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past, so dry your tears, I say. I remember when we used to sit in the government yard and trenched out, and then Georgie would make the fire light as it was. Love would burning through the night. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you. And my feet is my only courage, and I've got to push on through. everything's gonna be alright. No woman, no cry. Cry, cry.
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
Oh, yeah. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you. And my feet is my only carriage, and I've got to push on through. When I'm gone, everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be
A cover version of Bob Marley's tune "No Woman, No Cry" by Ash this morning. Call it because we've got about another 6 minutes to the afternoon. But Jaja Empire, it says once again, it says, why do Nigeria government not discuss about agitation? Why is the Nigeria government not discussing about agitation for Odua and Biafra exit? Does that mean that they know the truth that nobody is a Nigerian? If not, why are they afraid to discuss it? Some of the time they're trying to hold the country together. Maybe that is their ploy, or maybe that's what they are trying to look at, trying to just keep the country together. Maybe whilst people don't decide that, look, we don't want to be part of it, they still want to hold you together. But what do you think? Well. But I've been asking that question all the time. I do ask the question, why don't you give them a referendum? Let them have a referendum. If they go have a referendum and it becomes obvious that they want to leave, then, but to suppress them. Some say that in unity is strength. But as I did say earlier on, when unity cannot give that strength that people are looking out for, but rather feel marginalized and being, looked down upon and suppressed and abused, then what is the point? Jaja once again said, discussing about the failed election. He said that's what they are trying to do. But what do you think about it? Now, Samsudin Oladipupo, good morning. Good morning to you. Yes, we hope that you are doing very, very well. He said, God bless you, sir, and God bless you too, Samsudin. Have a lovely day. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are this morning, listening or watching us from. Okay, now let's move on straight to some of the stories making the rounds. But let me open the lines before I do so. Now call me on 0208133257 or 58. 0208133257 or 58. For those of you in the in London and in Europe. Okay. Now those of you in US, Canada, the Caribbean area, you can call me on 001-718 303-2737 001-718-303-2737. Also, you can text or WhatsApp me 075-3966-1744 075-3966-1744. Our Twitter handle is Starr Radio UK and email address is info@starradiouk.com info@starradiouk.com. You can also Skype at us. Our Skype ID is Starr Radio UK. Starr Radio UK 1. Starr Radio UK 1. Okay? Yes. Just dial that or look for that and you can get onto the program as well. But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Now let's move on. Let's move on to some other stories making the rounds this morning. Now, what else? Okay. On the African continent this morning, apart from the Nigerian election, the results and the aftermath of the elections, there are other stuff happening there as well. So moving on straight to Libreville, where President Macron, the president of France, has landed. He landed there yesterday. I said that Macron lands in Libreville in the start of a four-nation tour of Africa. The story says that he landed in Gabon's capital, Libreville, on Wednesday and will later head to Angola, Congo, Brazzaville, and the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Macron's trip as alarm grows in Paris over Russia's rising influence in French-speaking African countries, now joining China, which has been present in the region for some years. Now, Burkina Faso has told France on Wednesday it is renouncing a 1961 agreement that provided a legal basis for French military aid. So they say, we don't want anything to do with you if you were our former colonial masters. We are renouncing that. In a speech on France-Africa policy on Monday, Macron called for a mutual and responsible relationship with a continent of more than 50 countries, including on climate issues. Now, he also said the French military will reduce its footprint on the continent in the coming months, though a military source and analysts have said French army chiefs may be reluctant to do so. Why? A speech that did not convince in the diaspora nor in Africa, as demands for the departure of the French presence are increasing. Now, more than 3,000 French soldiers are deployed in Senegal, Ivory Coast, Gabon, Djibouti, according to official figures. Another 3,000 are in the Sahel region, further north, including in Niger Niger and Chad. In Gabon, Macron will dine with President Ali Bongo Ondimba on Wednesday. On Thursday, he will attend the One Forest Summit on preserving forests worldwide, including along the vast Congo River Basin. Now, Gabonese environmental activist Mark Ona Esangwe said he was worried Macron's visit would detract from the Rainforest Summit main goal. The Gabonese people will instead likely view his presence as giving a political boost to Bongo in the run-up to the presidential election later this year, he said. Now, Bongo, 64, has been president since succeeding his long-ruling father in 2009. It's a dynasty, isn't it? Okay, just bear with me. I will be continuing the show. My apologies there, listeners. It is Starr Radio UK. There was a call coming through. I don't know whether the person wanted to call the studio line, but whatever it is. Okay. All right then. Now let's move on straight to some other stories making the rounds on the continent. Opposition figure has returned to Tanzania from exile, and it says that now Tanzania opposition politician God Bless Lema returned home on Wednesday from exile in Canada to a cheering crowd. His party announced that Tanzania hopes to turn the page on years of authoritarian rule. Now, former lawmaker for the main opposition Chadema party, Lema fled the East African nation in November 2020, citing death threats following a disputed election. Now, his return comes a month after another opposition stalwart, Tundu Lissu, returned to his native country after spending most of the past 5 years in the exile following an assassination attempt. Now, their return follows President Samia Suluhu's Hassan's lifting up of a ban on political gatherings, a gesture of openness to the opposition. Now, the party's North Region chairman arrived at Kilimanjaro International Airport this afternoon. That was yesterday afternoon. Chadema said on Twitter, jubilant supporters dressed in party colors of white, red, and blue swarmed the airport, some 70 kilometers from the northern city of Arusha, where the opposition was told was to hold a welcome rally. They waved flags and placards wishing "Welcome home, my son." A fierce critic of the government, Mr. Lema, a member of the parliament for 10 years, was one of many opposition members who lost their seats in the key strongholds in the 2020 elections. So what do you think is going to happen there? It's going to be quite an interesting one. He landed yesterday. So let's see. He's looking fresh. So maybe, who knows? But again, I don't mind criticism. Because people have to be given opportunity to criticize if they think that what you are doing is not the right thing or. However, when it happens that during criticism, or when people criticize people and because of that they are just thrown into jail, then that is not on. But at times people go about destructive criticism and using all means, some dubious means to undermine governance, and that is not on. That's why I do say all the time. Now I don't mind whether it's a military rule or if it's a civilian rule or democracy, whatever it is. But if the truth is what is going on and the interests of the majority of the people is what is going to be seen to, then why not? So I don't, because we in our system where we say, oh, you know what, don't touch it, it's democracy, and meanwhile you have the people who are said to be the custodians of the law actually flouting the law for their own interests or their selfish interests. Then what is the point? But 4 minutes past the top of the hour at the time, we welcome them all back home to Tanzania. We hope that the next election will be a very lovely one. But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Ivory Coast, Guinea to fly back citizens in Tunisia after outcry. It's quite a worrying thing there. The West African states of Guinea and Ivory Coast are repatriating hundreds of their citizens from Tunisia, officials said on Wednesday, after Tunisia President Kais Saied triggered a storm by accusing sub-Saharan migrants of crime. The most urgent thing to say is to save lives to prevent injuries, said Ivorian government spokesman Amadou Coulibaly on announcing the launch of repatriation efforts. Now, Ivory Coast's national carrier Air Côte d'Ivoire is being taxed to aid in returning some 500 citizens, Coulibaly said. The operation could take place within the next 72 hours. A Guinean foreign ministry official declared that the authorities had leased an aircraft to bring about 50 Guineans in Tunisia who said they wanted to return home. The information was confirmed by a senior official at the Conakry airport. It's a very sad thing for the Tunisian president to make such pronouncement, and they are saying that, well, it's been misconstrued or it's put out of context. Now, what do they actually mean by that? Well, I think they need to summon their ambassadors to come and answer for that. But what do you think? It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, yesterday I did talk about in Ghana where they were talking about a vessel with crude oil and they weren't sure, well, where is the crude oil and all that stuff. But official documents seen by some news networks says the vessel alleged to have shipped 600,000 barrels of Russian crude oil to Ghana had its port of loading in Kazakhstan. Now, Bloomberg first broke the story and tracked the vessel MT Theseus from a port in the Black Sea. Now, Aktau is a small city located in the eastern shore of the Caspian Sea, with a port which had been expanded to receive and export larger and more diverse types of cargo, notably crude oil. According to the United States International Trade Administration, Kazakhstan has the largest proven oil reserves in the Caspian Sea region. Its oil production reached 1.8 million barrels daily in 2021, and nearly 44% of the state budget revenues come from the oil and gas sector. The certificate of quantities seen as well shows that the shipper of the crude oil is the Hong Kong-based Bellatrix Energy Limited and carried exactly 79.804 million metric tons of oils. The documents confirm that Etama-based private refinery Platoon Gas Oil Ghana Limited procured the crude oil. But are we supposed to buy oil with Russian connections, as from Ghana, Ghana buying oil with Russian connections. Now, Tor despite quality control officers to board the vessel on Friday, 24th of February, the same day the vessel docked at Tema, and then Tor quality control analysis report, which confirms that samples were taken on Friday, 24th, and analyzed on Saturday, 25th. The report signed. Okay, the report signed. Just bear with me. The report, which confirms that samples were taken, okay, and the report signed by the quality control manager at Tor describes the product as light crude oil. Okay, so that's some information there for you. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And let us now go to some other stories making the round. Still in Ghana. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I used UT Bank to bail out the Kufuor of Riata, but they collapsed it. Kofi Amoabeng is saying. The former chief executive officer of the defunct UT Bank, Prince Kofi Amoabeng, has accused President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta of backstabbing him. According to the former banker and soldier, he has always struggled to come to terms with the events surrounding the revocation of UT Bank's operation license by the government in 2017. And speaking on Wednesday, the retired military captain said his bank ever came to the rescue of President Akufo-Addo and his cousin Mr. Ofori-Atta when they needed help. Thus, he finds it baffling the manner in which their government collapses bank. The very people who are in the government now have had the occasion to actually bail them out using the same UT, and I gave them the opportunity and try to become who they are now. The president himself, at some point in time, UT was there to bail him out, and Ken Ofori-Atta and the others, his partners and Data Bank, yes, UT bailed them out. He continued to say, so we've fed you before. So even if you collapse it, it should not be the way it was done. You can call me and tell me the situation is beyond repairs and but not invading our premises with the police at 6 a.m. and hacking our signs and down and had no clue, he said. Now, the Bank of Ghana in August 2017 announced the revocation of the license of the UT Bank and Heritage Bank over the central bank, over what the central bank said bordered on solvency. The collapse of UT and Heritage Bank spiraled into the 21 billion Ghana cedis banking sector cleaned up by the Akufo-Addo government, which saw the license of 9 banks and more than 370 financial institutions being revoked. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, well, let's look at one other story and then we continue from there. Don't you touch the dial at all. Don't you touch the dial at all. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, interestingly, one other story that's making the rounds in Ghana. Now, Beige Bank case, I can't tell if the 3 million Ghana cedis ideal funds, finance funds was siphoned. Is a question or is a statement that has been made by a witness. Now, what brought about that? The chief prosecution witness in the ongoing case, the founder of the defunct Beige Bank, a standing trial, has told the High Court that he cannot tell if an amount of 3 million Ghana cedis from the Ideal Finance account to BCAM account was siphoned. Now, Julius Ayivo, a chartered accountant with a KPMG and a lead member of the receiver of the bank who had given evidence for the state, also said customers of the bank banks are not bothered what their deposits were being used for, as long as they found monies in their account. So is that what? Well, somebody would say that, yeah, it's a venture. They put you deposit money there, and they hope to see if they can get, so far as they are getting some money back. That is all that they will want to do. But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's take a quick break, and once we come back, we'll go on to look at some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Stay tuned and don't you go away. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Empowerment is always key to development. Doing good outreach under the auspices of His Royal Highness Osi Ejatakbo VII presents Avatime Youth Empowerment Outreach 2023 with the theme Run to Jesus, Your Only Savior, Acts 10 verse 38. Date is Saturday the 26th of March to Saturday April 1st, 2023. Below are the dates and venues. 27th March, Avatime Vanle Community Center. 28th March, Avatime Amejokwe Market Square. 29th is Avatime Jokwepeme Primary School Compound. 30th March, Avatime Biakpa Community Center. 31st March, Avatime Bajame Community Center. Then April 1st is Avatime Fume and Jokwe Community Center. The time is 6:30 p.m. every day. Speakers: Reverend Michael K.M. Esiama.
We have redemption. We have been redeemed from the iniquities of the past. So you don't need to beg anymore. Oh, in Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God.
Reverend Samuel Avagame and Reverend Prince Mauli Ejay kindly consider with a generous heart donating to this noble cause financially, materially, or with your time and presence. Note, there will be free health screening during the day for all. Contact us on WhatsApp 0044 7851 205 626 or on mobile 054 959 1452 054 959 1452 or email us at admin@powerwordint.co.uk.
It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'm bringing the time now to 16 minutes to past 12. I've got about 14 minutes to bring the program to a close. Yes, so now let's move on straight to other parts of the world. Look at some of the stories making the rounds there. Now, angry protests has erupted in Greece. Now, Greece train crash, rail workers strike as anger over crash grows. The story says rail workers across Greece have begun a one-day strike after Tuesday's train crash, which killed at least 43 people. Now, pain has turned into anger for the dozens of dead and wounded colleagues. The walkout follows protests in Athens, Thessaloniki, and the city of Larissa near the site of the disaster. Rescue workers are still going through burned and buckled carriages searching for victims. Now, this was the most difficult moment. Rescuer Konstantinos Imanimidis told Reuters news agency, as instead of saving lives, we have to recover bodies. The incident happened just before midnight on Tuesday. A passenger train carrying 350 people collided with a freight train after both ended up on the same track, causing the front carriages to burst into flames. The rail workers strike began at 06 hours local time, that is 04 hours GMT, affecting national rail services and the subway in Athens. Well, the Starr Radio UK, in their anger, the anger has grown into protest there, but that is what is going on. Now, India, G20, US and Russia trade blows at talks in Delhi. The story says tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine have dominated G20 talks in Delhi, even after India's Prime Minister urged foreign ministers to put aside their divisions. Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the meeting was marred by Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war. Now, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the West of burying a deal to allow some Ukrainians grain exports. Now, earlier, Narendra Modi spoke for developing nations, saying those present had a responsibility to them. The G20, which includes the world's 19 wealthiest nations plus the European Union, accounts for 85% of global economic output and 2/3 of its population. Now, foreign ministers, including Mr. Lavrov, Mr. Blinken, and China's King Gang are in Delhi for the summit. A former Indian diplomat who would have to do something special to make them overlook their differences over the war. Now, we are meeting at a time of deep global divisions, Mr. Modi told the ministers gathered in Delhi, urging delegates to find common ground. Now, after years of progress, we are at risk to get today of moving back on sustainable development goals. Now, many developing countries are struggling with unsustainable debts while trying to ensure food and energy security, he said. They are also most affected by global warming caused by richer countries. That is why India G20 presidency has tried to give a voice to the global south. It was a rare address by Mr. Modi in English, a sign of how seriously he wanted his message to be taken. He made no direct references to the war in Ukraine, but acknowledged that the discussions will be affected by geopolitical tensions. Now, India's slogan for the G20 is One Earth, One Family, One Future. Interesting. Are we? Mr. Modi called on delegates to take it to heart and focus on issues that unite them. All right, then. The Thursday schedule includes session on food security, development cooperation, terrorism, and humanitarian assistance, a reflection of India's priorities while it holds the G20 presidency. This all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, interestingly, Tulsa race massacre survivors granted Ghanaian citizenship. Two survivors of the 1921 massacre of black people in the U.S. city of Tulsa have been granted Ghanaian citizenship. Now, Viola Fletcher, 108, and her brother Hughes Van Ellis, 102, are two of three living survivors. About 300 black residents of Greenwood, a prosperous town then known as the Black Wall Street, were murdered and their homes and businesses destroyed by a mob of white people. The citizenship ceremony took place at the Ghana Embassy in Washington, D.C. At this age, they cannot travel to Ghana. Well, so what's the point? Are their families going to benefit from it or what? Now, Miss Fletcher, known as Mother Fletcher, and Miss Van Ellis, also called Uncle Red, visited Ghana in August 2021 as part of a week-long tour of Africa to mark the centenary of the killings known as the Tulsa Race Massacre. The pair will become dual citizens, the Washington Post reports, citing comments made at the ceremony by Hajia Alima Mahama, Ghana's U.S. ambassador. The Justice for Greenwood Foundation, which works with the survivors of the massacre and their descendants, said the pair have become the oldest African Americans to be granted citizenship of Ghana. The foundation said it was proud to stand in solidarity with the survivors, celebrating their resilience and their contribution to the history of Black Oklahoma. And that was one of the shameful days, that event that took place in 1921. But wow, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. We've got about another 8 minutes to bring the program to a close. Okay. Let me bring you this one. It's quite an interesting one. Nityanda's Kailaza says UN to ignore remarks of a fugitive Indian guru's fictional country. The UN has said it will ignore statement made by the representatives of a fugitive Indian guru fictional country at 2 official events. Now, people representing the United States of Kailasa had attended the 2 UN committee meetings in Geneva in February. Now, a UN official said their submissions were irrelevant and tangential to the issues being discussed. Now, South-style guru Nityananda is wanted in India in several cases, including rape and sexual assault. Now, Nityananda, who claimed he founded the United States of Kailasa, USK, in 2019, has denied allegation against him. Now, USK's appearance at the UN event last week had made headlines in India. The Indian government hasn't publicly commented on the matter yet. An official said in an email that USK representatives attended 2 UN public meetings in Geneva in February. The first was a discussion on the representation of women in decision-making system organized by the Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, on the 22nd of February. A USK representative also participated in a second discussion on sustainable development hosted by the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, CESCR, on 24th of February. Now the question is, which geographical area do they find themselves? Are they located? That's a question that I want to be asking everyone there. But interestingly, I will not know, and you might not know, but what do we think? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right, then. Now let's move on to the UK. Now, we've been talking about some leaked WhatsApp messages from Matt Hancock. Apparently, the journalist who was helping him write his memoir was the one who released it, and she is in the person of Isabel Oakeshott. Now, ex-Health Secretary Matt Hancock has accused the journalist of a massive betrayal and breach of trust after she leaked texts he sent during COVID. Now, Isabel Oakeshott defended releasing the WhatsApp she obtained when working on Mr. Hancock's book. Now, arguing it was in the overwhelming national interest. However, Mr. Hancock said the messages were released in a biased account to suit an anti-lockdown agenda. He also denied her claim he had sent a menacing message over the leak. The Telegraph has been handed more than 100,000 WhatsApp messages linked to Mr. Hancock's time as Health Secretary at the height of the pandemic. It began publishing the text earlier this week. In a statement released on Thursday morning, Mr. Hancock said, "When I heard confused rumors of a publication late on Tuesday night, I called and messaged Isabel to ask her if she had any clues about it and got no response. Now, when I then saw what she'd done, I messaged to say it was a big mistake. Nothing more. Big mistake." Mr. Hancock argued the public inquiry into the pandemic was the right place for analysis of what went on, saying he would reply to the substance of the allegation at the inquiry. He apologized to those whose messages had been published by the Daily Telegraph, saying, "I am also sorry for the impact on very many people." Now, Isabel and I had worked closely together for more than a year on my book based on legal confidentiality and the process approved by the Cabinet Office. Isabel repeatedly reiterated the importance of the trust throughout and then broke that trust. A text message was passed to the newspaper by Miss Oakeshott, the Talk TV's international editor, who has been critical of lockdowns. She was given copies of the text while helping Mr. Hancock write his book pandemic diaries. So how do you see that? That is a proper betrayal. So can Hancock sue Isabel? Or that's it? Okay. One other story, I bring the program to a close. The sad story that happened just close to where we are, not quite an area around. This is Epsom. The head teacher of Epsom College and her daughter died of shotgun wounds at a property in the school grounds. An inquest in Surrey had held. Emma Patterson, 45, was found dead alongside her 7-year-old daughter Letty on the 5th of February. Now it says that Miss Patterson's husband George Patterson is believed to have shot them at their home before killing himself. The court heard Miss Patterson was shot in the abdomen and chest, and Letty died of a shotgun wound to the head. Now Surrey Coroner's Court had Miss Patterson, who was originally from Lincolnshire, died of shock, hemorrhage, and shotgun wounds. Now, post-mortem examination were carried out 3 days after the incident by Dr. Ashley Fagan Ale, who also ran toxicology and histology tests at East Surrey Hospital. The hearing was told. Now, Coroner Simon Wickens offered his condolences to their family and friends and all the lives both Mr. Patterson and the daughter had touched. Miss Patterson and the daughter had touched. It's a very, very sad one there. However, this is where I bring the program to a close for today. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll be bringing another edition of the morning show. But until then, I say have a top of the day and bye-bye for now. Enjoy this song from a cover version of Kojo Entry's song, Made of Upa. You are the one that I love, and that's why I come here to speak to you. And thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Solo 7.
Made of Upa, wunyum ne pwey. Made of Upa, wunyum ne pwey. Papa, would you not play? No, I'm sorry, I'm not pa. You won't find me. I don't feel my no. Say my baby boy, I so rich already. What my was see me, menya want it for free. I won't come at the gym. I won't come at shishi. I won't come at the gym. Sanatia, a brand new was here. A brand new was him, Susana, winning bankers out. Tintum running. Bibini, if I was ready to me, so how do you way? Made of Papa, would you not play? Made of Papa,